You know that feeling when you're working with your AI coding assistant? It's like having this brilliant intern, right? Super smart, but it's always just sitting there waiting for you to tell it what to do next. Well, today, we're going to talk about a technique that completely flips that script. We're talking about turning your passive AI assistant into a genuinely autonomous worker. So here's the plan. We'll kick things off by looking at where current AI assistants hit their limits. Then we'll dive into this new autonomous loop. We'll see how it works under the hood, what it means for your job as a developer, talk about the awesome power and, the real dangers, and then wrap up with a big idea for the future of all this. All right, so let's set the stage here. We've all got these amazing AI coding tools, but for all that power, I think a lot of us are starting to feel like we're hitting a wall, kind of like an invisible ceiling on what you can really get done with just that back and forth conversation. I mean, let's be honest, right? Is your AI coding partner really a partner, or is it just a super fancy autocomplete? It's a tough question, but it gets right to the point. Most of these tools, they're just reactive. They wait for you, they do a thing, and then they wait again. No initiative, none. And that right there, that's the assistant ceiling. Think about building a real feature. It's not one command, is it? No way. It's this whole dance. You prompt, it codes, you test it. Oops, there's a bug. So you prompt to fix, and on it goes. You're stuck in this manual loop, and the AI never, ever truly owns the task. Okay, but what if you could just break out of that cycle? This is where things get really interesting. We're talking about a whole new way of thinking, a shift that takes the AI from being a helpful sidekick to a tireless worker that just gets the job done on its own. And it's got this great name, the Ralph Wiggum technique. Yup, named after the character from The Simpsons because, he might get things wrong, but he just keeps trying. And that's the whole idea. It's actually pretty profound when you think about it. You give the AI a task, you give it a crystal clear definition of what done looks like, and then you force it to just keep trying over and over, learning from its mistakes in a loop until it nails it. And this isn't just a small change. This is a massive mental shift. You're not a micromanager anymore. You're not a pair programmer. Your job is to define the goal, the victory condition. Let's say getting a whole bunch of tests to pass, and then you just let the AI go. It works completely on its own until the job is done. And I mean, you can literally give it a task, go to bed, and check the results in the morning. Wow. Okay, I know this sounds a little bit like magic, but it's not. It's actually built on a really clever, really solid technical idea. So let's pull back the curtain and see how this whole autonomous loop actually works. So here's the secret sauce. The AI gets its task and starts working. Now, when it thinks it's done, it tries to stop. But, and this is the clever part, a stop hook catches it. It says, whoa, not so fast. This hook then runs a check, usually a test suite, to see if the work is actually good. If the tests fail, the hook blocks the AI from stopping, shoves the error messages right back at it and says, try again. This happens over and over until everything passes. The whole setup is actually pretty slick. It's using a built-in feature in models like Claude called a stop hook to manage the whole process. Now for security, and this is important, you don't want the AI just running random commands. So instead, the modern way to do this is to have the AI write its status to a state file. It's a much safer way to operate. And of course, the golden rule, you always set a max iteration limit. That's your safety brake to stop things from running forever. So when you have this kind of powerful automation, it's pretty obvious that our jobs have to change, right? The role of the human developer starts to shift from being the person on the keyboard to someone who's thinking much more strategically. Think about it like this. Your value isn't about writing the perfect line of code anymore. Anyone or any AI can do that. Your real value is in designing the perfect test that proves the code is right. Your job becomes all about defining the problem and the goals with such incredible precision that an AI can take it and run. You're not just building the house, you're designing the robot that builds the house. And, of course, with this kind of power comes, well, you know the rest. A whole lot of responsibility. Letting an AI run loose in your codebase overnight is definitely not something you should do without thinking it through very, very carefully. So let's start with the upside, the power. Get this, there was a real-world project quoted at $50,000 for a team of humans to build. Using this technique, it was completed for just $297 in API costs. That's an insane return on investment, but you have to be careful because the same loop that makes that possible can also spin out of control and cost you a fortune. Okay, so let's talk about the scary stuff, the risks. First up is bill shock. It's the most obvious one. If your AI gets stuck in a loop, it can rack up API costs like you wouldn't believe. Then there's the false positive. This is sneaky. Your tests are weak, so they pass, and the AI thinks it's done, but it's just confidently shipped broken code. And finally, the classic garbage in, garbage out problem. Vague instructions will just get you a beautifully automated but completely wrong result. So this all comes back to that new role for the developer, doesn't it? Your two biggest safety nets, the things that will save you, are things you have to build. Number one, that dash max iterations flag, that's your emergency brake. And number two, the most important one, rock solid tests. The better your tests, the better your final product will be. It's that simple. All right, so let's bring this all home. When you boil it all down, what's the one big idea, the key principle that makes this whole thing work? Well, it really comes down to this quote from Boris Cherny, one of the minds behind Cloud Code. The feedback loop, that's everything. Look, an AI that just spits out code, that's useful, sure. But an AI that can write code, run its own tests, see that it failed, and then fix its own mistakes, that's a total game changer. That's where that 2 to 3 times jump in quality comes from. It's that self-correcting closed. And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. As these tools get better and more common, the best developers out there, they're not going to be the ones heads down just cranking out code. They're going to be the architects, the ones designing the systems, the tests, and the workflows that let the AI do the building. So the real question for all of us is, which one are we going to be?